For a business to do well, they must master the art of negotiation. The company must be able to negotiate prices, deals, and the list goes on and on. I'm Kalila Reynolds, and it's time for another episode of MoneyMovesJa, brought to you in partnership with EXIM Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Joining me now to discuss how to negotiate for your business, we have Vice President and Head of Real Estate and Project Finance at Sygnus Capital, David Cummings. Hi David, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And viewers, you guys need to know that David is the real deal, pun intended, when it comes to negotiation. So give them some of your credentials, tell them what you've done.
Sure, and thank you very much. So I have been fortunate to have done negotiations in the military arena, also in the diplomatic arena, as well as in business. So I have a fairly wide range of experience in negotiations across different disciplines.
Mm-hmm. So what goes into a negotiation? If you're a business owner and you're trying to negotiate a deal, what are the things that you need to be aware of?
Well, certainly. Well, first and foremost, you have to understand what a negotiation is. And a negotiation essentially is two parties trying to come to a common position with a mutually agreeable solution. And what is the outcome that you're seeking? So you need to understand where you're trying to end up in terms of the discussion, what are the strategies that you're going to use, what are the tactics that are needed, and of course, how do you research the enterprise that's going to be across the table from you, what are their strengths, what are your strengths, and how are you going to end up with a situation where it can be a win-win. Because a negotiation doesn't need to end up with a winner and a loser. You can have two winners in a negotiation. But I would say the most important thing about negotiations boils down to people. It's about people. And when people come together for a negotiation, if they start from a position of respect, start with a position of integrity, and start with a position of just a common understanding of what they're trying to achieve, then the negotiation becomes a lot easier when you start with respect and integrity.
Two very important points,
Very important,
respect and integrity. And I think the best type of outcome is when both parties do feel like they came out winners.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it sometimes is the simplest things that will help to let the negotiation go smoothly. I mean, the respect part of it starts with things as simple as being there on time. Being respectful of the other party's interests, being respectful of their position, and also ensuring that you listen to what they have to say. Because I believe too many times in negotiations, we listen to respond as opposed to listen to understand. And there's a distinct difference. If all you are doing is waiting for your turn to spill out what you want to say, then you're going to start off on a difficult footing. So ideally speaking, you want to be able to listen to understand what they're saying before you formulate what you are going to respond with.
All right, so a very common type of negotiation in business involves pricing, negotiating a price for something.
Certainly.
So first of all, how do you know what price you want? And then after you've come up with a price in your mind, how do you get the other side to agree to your price?
Certainly. Well, in business, a lot of the time you will arrive at a price through a valuation or through a financial model of some sort. So you have a sense as to what is the economic return that you're seeking. And then once you have the parameters, whether it is based on a calculation, on the valuation or a model, essentially, I mean, you whether it is you're the one who's doing the purchasing, essentially you present it to the vendor, and that's how you begin the negotiation, because that's the start of the negotiation when you present your offer, essentially. Clearly that negotiation would then take the form of the vendor receiving it, having a consideration, maybe doing their own valuation if they haven't done one already, and things will start to flow from there. So again, if you understand the particular market that you're doing the purchase in, whether it is a residential, a commercial, or a resort area, you will have a fair understanding of where the market is. Because what you don't want to do is start with a position where your offer insults the vendor, because that would start the negotiation off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
So you need to have a firm research, you need to understand the market, you need to understand what your offer represents in terms of where the market is and how your vendor is likely to receive that particular offer.
Negotiation can be petrifying, knowing that you're going into a
Absolutely.
negotiation and the other person on the other side is much more experienced than you in business. How do you come out on the better side of that type of situation?
Certainly. Well, I think one tactic that is used the world over is what's called a third-party negotiator. And that simply means getting somebody else who's more adept at doing the negotiation on your behalf than you do it yourself. And if you think about it, I think we all use third-party negotiators in our daily lives. And a good example of this would be a real estate broker. If you're buying a house or selling a house, you typically would go through a broker, and a real estate broker is licensed and experienced in negotiating the price to purchase or the price of a sale of real estate. So that's a very good example of using a third-party negotiator who is quite adept at understanding the market and understanding how far they can push the boundaries to get the best for you. So wherever you find yourself in a situation where you think you may have a weaker position or you need to have the benefit of some expert, then I'd recommend using a third-party negotiator, which would help to enhance your position.
That's great advice.
Certainly.
That's excellent advice. When you said we use this in daily life, my mind immediately went to the kids. Ask mommy so and so.
Well,
a third-party negotiator. It works.
Absolutely. And as I said, at the heart of every negotiation lies people. And the idea is, where do their strengths lie? I mean, the other aspect I would say with negotiations is there's a strategy involved in negotiations, there's the tactics involved, but there's also the emotional side of it. And the emotional side of negotiation is something that has to be carefully managed, because if in a negotiation, if you come across as anxious or angry, or in other way you're giving away a position to the other party that could be disadvantageous to you. I mean, anger is a common one that tends to enter negotiations where one party feels aggrieved at the start, and so they come to the negotiation table with a certain attitude and a certain level of anger. And that is usually non-productive, because it immediately sets the stage for a standoff between the negotiating parties.
You know, as you speak about emotions and reading the room, a lot of times in this COVID time, we are doing business deals over Zoom, over the phone, as opposed to in person. Does that make a difference in how you're able to perhaps read somebody's body language in trying to get the best deal?
I would argue it makes a big difference. We are social animals as humans, and we're used to a certain type of interaction with each other. And when you're deprived of that ability to read body language, to interpret smiles and those things, it puts you at a disadvantage. So, and as much as it's okay doing business deals and negotiations via Zoom, there comes a point in a transaction where you need to meet each other face to face and understand each other. So I would argue it does place a disadvantage on the negotiation process by not having that human social interaction, which of course comes natural to us, and it allows you to understand the other party's position. Are they having apprehensions? Are they comfortable with what's being said? Are they listening and paying attention? Because over Zoom, very many times, I'm sure we've all experienced it, you're in the middle of a meeting and a person's eyes wandering and you're not quite focused on what's going on. But when you're in the room with somebody, as we are here now, you get a true sense, is the person really paying attention and listening to me? and of course there's also the reciprocity.
Right, and then a lot of times we make decisions based on our intuition too.
Absolutely.
So, you say a spirit text somebody.
Absolutely,
you
yes.
meet somebody and you just get a vibe from them and you have a feeling that this is going to be a beneficial deal.
Exactly, and you can't put a price on instinct. As you've just, it's
right.
really instinct, that gut feeling. When you're interacting with someone in the middle of a negotiation, you get a real sense. If that, are they being genuine with you? Are they being evasive? Just the eye contact. A lot of those signs and cues will tell you, is this somebody who's been truthful, who's been transparent, and is this somebody who I think we can both arrive at a position where it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. So those are some red flags to look out for.
I would say yes. The instinct is an incredible skill, and I think as humans we've learned over the years that trust your instinct. Trust it.
When should you walk away? At what point?
So whenever you're going into negotiation, there's something called a BATNA, which is an acronym for your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And a BATNA essentially means if all else fails and I need to walk away, what should I walk away with? And to give an example, so if you are the executive in a company and an employee comes to you and says, listen, I need a raise or I'm going to leave. That's a negotiation that's started. Right. And so your partner, because he was coming to have this discussion with you, your partner may very well be, okay, if we can't come to some agreement, then I'll say, I'll keep you on for I can't give the raise, but I'll keep you on for 6 more months to allow you to find another job. Mm-hmm. So I know that that's what I'm going to walk away with. I'm going to lose the person because I'm not going to give him the pay raise, but I'm also giving him the benefit of a little bit of extra time to help him find a new job, because I'm not going to give him the raise. Right. So that's called a BATNA.
And you get the benefit of their extra time while you find a new employee.
It gives you time to find a new employee as well. So the idea is that going into the negotiation, you are essentially knowing in the back of your mind, if all else fails, we can't come to a common position, what am I going to walk away with? And it's called a BATNA, BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And it's something that you always should try when you're going into negotiation, have a BATNA in the back of your mind that if all else fails, what can I walk away with? Mm-hmm.
So do you go in with an upper price and a lower limit price? How does that work?
No, well, in financial terms and real estate in particular, in my area, we do a lot of modeling. So we understand the sensitivity of the model, that how high we can go or how low, as the case may be. So we have a fairly robust understanding of the sensitivity of the pricing, so we will always go in understanding what the tolerance level is in terms of any counter offer. Of course, it may have other implications, but essentially, we would have done that homework prior to entering into negotiation.
Mm-hmm. What if the thing that you're negotiating for is not a tangible thing like real estate, but you're offering a service, and the service costs whatever you say the service costs because you know your worth,
sure,
what your time is worth, and so you're negotiating for the cost of that service?
So that's a very good case. I think the principles remain the same. You need to understand the value and the worth of the service. I think how that is translated to a monetary value is something that you should have worked out prior. But the principles of how you negotiate, whether it's for a service or for a tangible good, in other words, whether it is transactional or otherwise, the principles remain the same as far as negotiations are concerned, because what you're trying to do is two people trying to come to a position that a mutually agreeable position where they both can walk away with a win, and that's the essence of it. The principles remain the same.
I always feel like if I set a price and there's no counter, then the price was too low. I should have gone higher. Well, thank you so much, David,
Certainly.
for these tips. I
Certainly.
appreciate it.
Here's a recap of some of David's key points. Enter a negotiation with a solid idea of the outcome you desire. Start the negotiation from a position of respect and integrity. Use a third party to negotiate on your behalf if you're not too confident in your own negotiation skills.
That's it for this episode of Money Moves JA, brought to you in partnership with EXIM Bank's Business Advisory Service, giving you the tools to grow your business. Visit their website at eximbankja.com and visit my website, KalilaReynolds.com, for a summary of this episode. You can click the link in the description box below. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Until next time.